Right, it's been a while, a couple of months since I did my last video. It's Boxing Day, hope you all had a good Christmas. This video's, there's not going to be much mechanically sort of thing. I've got the swing arm, etc. that's here. Yeah, so there's some tests, not tests, check measurements etc. on this swing arm, make sure everything's how it's meant to be, and I'll video that and show you how I'm doing it. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny time the last couple of months. A few things happened really. All this COVID shite that's been going on, that's not helped matters. I got made redundant from my job. No major worry, like I've got another one to start. I'm officially finished at the end of December with my old job, and I start my new job on the 4th of January, so no major problems there. But I was going to come out and make a video, but then my dog got ill. So I took her to the vets, had an operation, things didn't go to plan, and a week or so later liver had failed, so we had to have her put to sleep. So a bit of a shitter, but things happen like that. So yeah, I've been having a bit of a weird time, so to speak, over these last couple of months. But I thought I'll get Christmas out of the way and then make a start back in here. And I was having car trouble. My 4-wheel drive system packed in on my car. Haldex unit on the back was my own fault. I serviced it and I did it in a bit of a hurry, and I think what I done, I got a little bit of dirt or something, because you take with the Haldex unit on the back, I've got a TIG one, you take the, you don't have to, but this is how I do it, I take the pump off, the filter out and everything. Well, take the filter out first, the pump off, obviously you've drained the oil, clean everything up, put new filter and everything in, put the pump back in. And on the end of the pump there's like a little plastic mesh. Now it doesn't say anything anywhere about taking that off and cleaning it, but I do, because it gets clogged up with shit. So I got that done, but I think because I did it in a hurry, I think I got a lump of dirt in, and inside the Haldex unit there's a valve, and I think the lump of dirt had got in the valve and the valve was stuck open. So when I first set off driving it, if you turned sharp, it was scrubbing and jumping, like, because it was stuck in permanent 4-wheel drive. So I had all that to sort out. So I was doing stuff, but not on the bikes. But what I'm going to do now, as I say, the swing arm's here. I'm going to knock you off in a minute and get you set up in a better spot. I'll show you the swing arm and the bits that come with the swing arm. Also I'll show you the axle that I've got, which I've had for a while. As I said in last video, the axle turned up, it was this fucking swing arm that wasn't. Yeah, and we'll just have a bit of a nosy at that, and I'll explain on the axle. There's a few things I'm going to be doing with the axle. Not modifying the axle itself, but the plates for where the calipers are, they're getting modified, because I've got a set of handbrake calipers as well. But I'll explain that in a minute. But I haven't done anything off camera on this thing apart from clean up. You know, I took all the forward controls off and I just had them laid on the floor. I'm doing it that way because that's where the bike is. In fact, if I loosen this off, you can see the bike. There's the bike. So yeah, I cleaned it. I boxed up the the forward controls that I had laid on the floor at the end of the last video. I've put the shocks, they're just sat on. I've got my bench that the bike was sat on for a while. That bench is set up here, it's got the axle on it and the swing arm, but I've put the shocks on there. I haven't done anything with the shocks. I said I'm going to strip the shocks down, I'll do that on video. So basically I haven't done anything with the bike apart from clean up. So I haven't done anything that you're not going to see and think, well, how the hell did he do that, when did he do that? So yeah, I'll knock you off now, I'll get you set up in a different spot and we'll have a bit look at this swing arm and stuff, and we'll check some measurements. Right, back in a minute. Right, one axle. That bit there, obviously the bump stop at the top. Underneath, I'll lift you off in a minute and show you, I might even turn it round. So I've just got a board on here just to hold it up. But on the back side here at the bottom is obviously where it bolts for the shockers. That's where it mounts into where the normal swing arm would. Did I call that an axle or a swing arm? I can't remember now. It's a swing arm anyways. But yeah, this is where your bearings will go in. Obviously I've got new bearings for this. There is a little bit of tidying up to do on it because a lot of it's been MIG welded. And there's a few little bits of spatter stuck here and there, but I'm not too bothered about that at the moment. As I've said before, I'm doing a dry build on this thing, so once I've got it all together and I'm happy that it's right, then I'll clean it all up, take off the bits of spatter, you know, any sharp bits of weld, like there's a tiny, I don't know if you can see on there, there's a tiny little bit just sticking out, I think it's the end of a weld. I'll just take probably like a sanding disc and just tidy that up. I'm not going to take off any of the weld, I'm not going to be smoothing it off or anything like that. You know, I don't want to weaken any of the weld. It all looks decentish weld, but it's just the ends where they've gone past and you get like a little bobble. So I will be cleaning bits like that up and knocking off any bits of spatter from when you MIG weld. It's like sparks and it's like little balls of molten steel, and it just lands on and sticks. But what I'm wanting to do just now is I'm going to get a level. You can use a straight edge, but I've just got a level which I'm going to clamp it onto obviously onto here. I'll clamp it slightly higher. In fact, I'll turn it around and put it that way. Then I'm going to get one of my squares to go up here, and then I'm going to measure off the square, and the distances should be the same. This should be in the middle, it should be equal, is what I'm trying to say. So I'll just grab a couple of clamps. I'll use my crappy old blue ones for this. Fucking wood in there. Yeah, yeah, I'm just going to use a crappy old G-clamp that's bent by the looks of it. Not too far. Tell you what, just going to knock you off for a minute. I'll get this clamped on and get my square put on, and then I'll bring you back. So I'll back in a minute. Right, back. Now, two things I'm doing here. One, I want the straight edge, whichever way I put it on. I want the straight edge so I can put a square up. But two, we're just using a level, which I know this level's right. I can see across here and here that them plates are flat to each other. Now, what I will introduce you to, these things here are the plates that come with the axle. I'll just put that in there a sec. And they bolt on to there. When I show you the axle, you'll see where these bolt onto. But yeah, they bolt onto that, one on each side. And I've already had these sat together. and they're looking alright. They're looking, you know, there's no obvious gaps around the edges, so you've got nice flat edges on there. And obviously you get the bolts that come with it as well for bolting it together, for bolting these plates on, should I say. And they are 8 point, I don't know if you can see through the plastic. Let's get one out. They are 8.8, so they're a good high grade, strongish bolt, plenty strong enough for this job anyways. So the next step is I want a square. Now a lot of people probably won't have this sort of size square kicking about, but because of what I do for a living, I do have them. Just get it out of the box. That's a nice large engineer's square. So I'll probably put it on that way, and I'll clamp that so that it's up against the edge of here, and I'll put a clamp on there just to hold it so it doesn't go anywhere and it stays flat against the surface of the level. So I'll use a quick clamp for that, because it doesn't need to be like super tight, it just needs to be up in the air as well. Right, so that's up against that edge. And then I've got a nylon tapping stick kicking about anywhere. Thought we had one. Here it is. Right, that's up. It's touching this edge of the bar, and it's flush there. So that basically is a square sort of. It's square to the swing arm, is what I'm trying to say. And now what I need is a tape measure, and I just had a pile of them. There it is. As usual, you know, I've only been away 2 months, I'm not organised at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure from the outside of here to this edge, the inside edge of the square, and then from the outside edge of here to the inside edge of the square. Same at this top end, and I can tell the difference because you've got like, let's have a look. That's actually 69 millimeters. So I'm just going to take some measurements. So I've got 3/8. Well, funnily enough, it's actually exactly 15¼ inch, or 3/8. 3/8/7, and then I've got 3. Now also, something I should point out, this bar does not sit centrally in the swing arm. It's offset to one side. Now it's the same on the bike, it's the same on the other swing arm which is down there, the swing arm that came out of that bike. it's just the mounting for your shocks is just off slightly to one side. So let's have this again. Right, so that's 387, 387, and 337, and then we've got 107 and 158, which should tally up to 262. And 725. So I looked at that one now. I'll tell you what, I'll just get my glasses so I can read the tape measure properly. Makes life a lot easier when you can see things. Yeah, so that's 387 and 337. Just going to get my calculator on the go here. So that's should be 724. That's 387 and a half, and that is also 337 and a half, which overall gives you 725, which is, I was wondering now where I was getting the mil from. So I had it down, it was coming up at 724, but if you add the half on each side, obviously you get the extra mil, because it is actually 725 wide. But the difference is that I'm looking for is, if I've just 725 minus, what I'm trying to work out here, and my brain seems to have switched off at the minute, the distance from there to here and from there to the inside edge of this measurement should be the same offset because this isn't sitting in the centre, remember, it's because I've got it up against the edge of this bar, it's sitting off centre. Now the difference between them two measurements and these two measurements should equate to the same difference, if you understand where I'm coming from with that. I'm fucking sure I don't. Try and put that in plain English. If all this is perfectly, everything's central, if I measure that as an example, I'm going to make it layman's term here. If I measured that from there to there and it was 250, and I measured from there to there and it was 200, overall it's 450. Ignore the measurements, I'm just trying to explain where I'm coming from. So that would be 450 overall, but it's offset slightly this way. So if I was to measure that, and that was 150 to there, and then 100 in from there, it would be 250 overall, but the offset would be 50 mil, the same as it is down here, which means that it is central, as in everything's equal. If I measured these and measured to there and there was 50 mil difference between the two side measurements, and then I measured that one and there was only 40 mil difference in one side to the other, then something's not centred. That's what I'm trying to work out. So if I just double check what the measurement was on that, I'm sure I said that was 60. 67.5, no, num nuts, 68.5 mil. So if I go 3, 8, 7.5 minus to minus anything, I just need to, right, so that's 158.5. Right, so that measurement's right. So what did I say that one was? Right, so the difference is 50 mil. Up there, and I'm sure that's what it was down here. So 3, I'm just bollocks to the half, just making it easy. 3, 8, 7 for argument's sake. As I say, I'm ignoring the half. 3, 3, 7, which is 50 mil difference. So square edge a square edge, that's an angle that is a proper square. Straight edge is the level. So that measurement, that setup has got that line coming down right from the top of there all the way down through here is proper 90 degrees to that. So measuring from the end of there to there, and from that edge to the inside edge of the, like this edge of the square, both measurements are 50mm different to what they are on that side, which means that that's proper central. The reason I was checking that is if something had been slightly out, say that was 5mm further out than that one, I can actually put that into all my calculations, and when I mount the axle I can offset the axle slightly, because I don't know how many people will do this type of checks, but if you think about it, if that wasn't proper centralised and you bolted it in and then you just bolted your axle in and took a measurement from there to a certain point on the axle and from there to a certain point on the axle, what you could actually end up with is your axle sitting over to one side more than it should. Probably wouldn't make a shite of difference to it running in a straight line, but it would make a difference in the corners. So that's why I wanted to check everything to see how centralised this thing was, so when it's bolted into the bike it's right. This 50mm difference on these measurements, I would have liked to have set it up, you know, I would have measured and marked a centre and measured and marked a centre on the level, and then just check the two lines to make sure that they're lined up, but obviously because of this I can't do it, I had to offset it, and that's what I was just doing there. So we know that everything's central on the swing arm. We also know that these plates here are sitting true, as in flat line across. So you're not going to get bolted on and one of the plates is going to try and bolt on at an angle because the fucking plate wasn't level, flat. So that's another good sign. And because you have spherical bearing set up on the swing arm, I'll get one of the bearings actually, because I think they're just on this table. That's the steering head bearings. Move a few bits and pieces out the way. You just have to bear with me in a second while I find parts. What was that? Oh, it's indicators. Hopefully. Come on, you fuck. That's the bearings. Right, that's the new bearings. I bought an all balls bearing kit. Let's drill it on there a sec. Sticker. Right, and as you can see there, the bearings are still all nicely sealed up, they're brand new. But if I just open one up, what you've got here, when I say spherical bearings, if for instance that plate on the end just what was ever so slightly, I mean we're talking like maybe 1/4 mm out of square, it's not going to be a massive issue, because if you look at the actual bearing is like spherical, it sort of almost self-lines. So if I fitted that in, which going that way, if I fitted it in and it wasn't just 100% exaggerated, you could just sort of, right, that's sort of sitting levelish now, but exaggerated that, oh, it's not straight, but when the bar goes in, it can pull the bearing out like that, which can sit it at a slight angle, so your bar will still go through true without actually putting any stress onto like a bearing as such. So yeah, and these obviously press into the plate, and then obviously your shaft goes through them when you put it into there. I'll just put that back in there for now. Obviously when I put them in I'm going to show you what the score is, how I put them in, etc. But I'll just put them back in here for now. And another thing I'll just quickly show you. Let's put them on there. If you remember, anyone who's watched these videos, these are parts. These came off the actual swing arm pivot bolt, the long rod. These were parts that came off it, and I said I was going to have some new ones made. So basically I did. I got on to machine at work and I've made them out of stainless. So that's the actual whole shaft that goes through the swing arm, etc. These bits here go through the bearings. These are the spacers that go between like the frame and this bit, sort of thing. But if you remember, on the one I took off, it was a split one because of the design of the swing arm, the way the swing arm had been altered, modified. You couldn't get that in as a full single piece. So I made two new spacers, and I wonder why one's thicker than the other. Have I got one that's thicker than the other, or is that just the way I've chamfered it? They're the same. Both of them are the same on each end, which they were anyways. I checked the measurements, etc. Now this might just the way I've chamfered these off. Overall, they are the same length. Yeah, it's just the way I've chamfered. I've chamfered. Or should I say, I've took more off that one. Don't worry about them marks. It's just a spacer. But I've took more off there on that chamfer than I have off that one. So if you look at the two together, one's ever so slightly thicker on this bit here than the other. But that's not an issue. Overall, they're both the same length. Yeah, so I made new ones of them. So back up there. Right. So what I'll do, we've had a look. I'll tell you what I will do. I'll tell you what. I'll knock you off. I'm going to take this lot back off. I'll turn the swing arm round. You can have a look at the other side where the other bit of bar is. Then I'll stick the swing arm on the floor out the way, and we'll have a look at this axle. Right, so I'll just knock you off for a sec. Just lift that up a touch. Right, as you can see here, I've turned it over. That's the bit that goes in and bolts to your shockers. It's braced in here. So it's got plenty of strength in the actual structure. That's, as I say, that's your bump stop, and these bits here is where your bearings will go in. So quite straightforward. I don't know what you can see. In that bit there, I don't know if you can be able to see on the video, but you can see these bits of, maybe even here, these bits of spatter. Now I'll take time and I'll take all them bits of spatter off, because eventually this will all be stripped back down and cleaned up. All this like scale that's on it, the black coating, all that'll come off, ready for being painted. So for now, it's alright as it is. I will take probably a bit of Scotch-Brite and just clean out inside there, because it is starting to get a tiny little bit of surface rust on it. I think that's surface rust, because I've just noticed there what looks to be like as if it could be red paint. So it might actually be red paint, I don't know. But I will clean that out with a bit of Scotch-Brite, and the reason I'll use Scotch-Brite is it's not gonna take any of the material away, so you won't have an oversized hole all of a sudden. Right, I'll just lift this off here for now. It's all quite nicely braced up, and the welding's good on it. So I'll just stick this down here, out the way for now. And we'll have a look at this axle. I'll also just have a look at what this message is that I just got. Right, this framework, which I'll alter the camera in a sec so you can see it a lot better. In fact, I'll take my glasses off so I can see better. I wouldn't need to wear glasses for reading. Let's see. Got this. See if I can get it in a bit better. This lifted up. Just ignore the mess behind my bench. Turn this thing a bit. So I'll get this. Just trying to get down so you're not blocking your view with the. I'll just concentrate on one end at the minute. Tighten it up. Tighten it up, not loosen it. Zoom in a touch. Back out. Right. I'll try and get that a bit more to that side. Right, what you can see here, obviously, I'm going to have to turn this screen so I can actually see. That, you can just see in there's the belt pulley. Obviously the housing. These bits here is where these plates, they actually go through these holes, obviously top and bottom, and then it all gets clamped up when you've got it all exactly where you want it. A lot of measuring and stuff to do to make sure things are going on right, but once everything's in place, these get welded to the axle. Basically, if you didn't do that, your fucking axle would spin when you braked, for instance. Calipers, the 4-pot calipers that's on here at the minute. I've got a heavy duty. I say heavy duty. It's a big master cylinder. I'm hoping that it can power the 4-pots. It should be able to, but this caliper. Oh yeah, as you can see, discs as well on there. What I'm going to have to do is take off this hub off this end, obviously unbolt the caliper, take the hub off. I don't know what the fuck you can see here, because I can hardly see that screen myself. I'm going to change position. I'm going to lower this thing down and we'll look at it from a different angle, because this fucking bar's blocking everything. I'll just knock you off for a minute. Right. I've got you down a bit lower. As you can see here, there's a bar here. This steel frame that it's in, that's what it was delivered in. Obviously it was in a box as well, a wooden box. But this bit here, it's got the 2 slots, like where the bars go through. As I've stated, that's where it bolts to the swing arm. But the other bit I was trying to show you, which which I'll zoom in. I'll try and zoom in. Right, you can see there, little plate here, and the caliper's bolted to it. That's just bolted to this hub, sorry, the end of the tube on the axle. Same on the other side, but I'm going to be taking that plate off, so I'll have to take all this hub off, and with the disc, and take the caliper off. But I've got another, I'm going to show you them. I've got one out over here somewhere. I've got a mechanical handbrake caliper which I can put on. Obviously it's not sitting central at the minute, I'll have to space it out properly, but if I bring it up, basically it's a mechanical, it's not got any hydraulics to it, it doesn't act as a hydraulic, but put handbrake on and it just pulls the cable down, and that's it. It locks the caliper on. But I need just had a better idea. Zoom back out. Yeah, so I'll centralise that in the caliper, and when I get it where I want it, I can take my measurements, make a new plate that encompasses this caliper and the mountings for this caliper, so that it all bolts on. So that's one of the projects on there. Now, when you just change your view slightly, under here you can see that's the belt drive. I need to get in there and oil everything, grease it all up, sorry. Now, not 100% sure at the minute if that's top or bottom. In fact, the axle's not even, I wonder if I can actually turn it. Oh, I can. As you've just seen, see what I did there? I just turned the whole axle body by hand inside these clamps. That's why when you get everything set to where you want it, width-wise, etc., you weld these in. Now that's way off where it's meant to be, because it got a bit of a knock at this end. Well, not a knock as such, it was the way I put it down. I unboxed it and I slammed that end down. Didn't do any damage to the axle. It was more, it clanged down on the framework that it's bolted to, but the whole axle just slid in them. Now you imagine if you didn't weld that up and you're riding along and all of a sudden you jam your brakes on, all that's going to happen is the brakes will grab and it'll just try and pull the whole fucking body around in the brackets. So that's why you've got to weld them up. So yeah, there's a few things to do. This splits in half so that you can obviously fit it together. That's one of the things that I'm hoping is going to be okay, that my belt's going to be long enough, because I have heard some stories that people they get all these things fitted together and find out that they need a new belt that's longer. I don't know how true that is. It's just what I've read on a couple of forums, but no, we'll see. Obviously, if I have to put a new belt on it, I have to put a new belt on it. So, but yeah, I just thought I'd bring you in. It's been, as I said, it's been a while since my last video, and I needed to get started in here. So I've done my checks, which I wanted to do on the swing arm itself. Showed you the axle and the swing arm and the bits that come with it, etc. Little bit of info of what I've got planned. And basically I should be starting, I won't be starting today. Today's plan was to just come in and make this little video, just one, so you're all up to date with what's happening, two, to show you I haven't actually been doing anything and just not filming it out like that. It was more just with what I've had going on was why I haven't done any videos and updates on this thing. But yeah, so axle's in good quality, looks good. I'm quite pleased with what I've seen so far. I have heard some stories as well about these calipers. People who have tried to bleed them up and they can't get them to bleed up because the master cylinder's not thing enough. But I have got a big master cylinder. It's a proper custom bike master cylinder, but it's got a big internal, like where the, God, I can't remember what you call it all. Basically the plunger bit that's in it, it's big, so that it can actually pump out some fluid to, I'm hoping it'll be able to operate these 4-pot calipers that's on there. If not, take them off, find a set that fit, even if I have to make another fucking new plate up to fit a different set of calipers. The brakes will be fine when this thing eventually goes on the road. So, yeah, and just also, I'll just lift you off this. As you can see, am I out on wide? Yeah, you can see basically I haven't even, the last job I said I was going to do was unbolt the rear caliper and the front master cylinder. I haven't even done any of that. You know, that's how much work I've done on this bike. So everything's as it was, apart from having a bit of a clean up. The other two are just stuck over there for now. So, see if I can get a, come on, focus. That's the caliper. I'll try and show you it from the end. It's multi-fit hub as well, and the wheels that I've got obviously fit it. 4-pot chrome caliper. Them little, there's the shockers. As I say, I haven't actually done anything at all with them shocks. I just lifted them onto here off the floor. I will film all this when I take these apart and show you everything that I'm doing. You're going to see. Yeah, so that's that plate's bolted on just in there, bolted to that caliper. So I'll make a new plate, machine up, because this one's like got a little slotted bit there, but it'll have the extra bit on for mounting the handbrake caliper. I've got one of them for each side, and then that's the where your bars off your bracket come through. As I say, that's the frame that this thing came in, and you can see I fucking busted it. That's when that all moved across. So yeah, that's where it mounts to the swing arm. Obviously your pulley with your holes in for top and bottom. Now on here, I'm wondering now if I've got this fucking thing upside down. No, there's a grease. Maybe be able to see it from the other side. There, you can see there's a grease nipple there. There should be one. Yeah, there's one there as well. But there's also one inside. If I'll see if I can turn this. Because there should be one there. It's just come into view in there. So I need to pack everything with grease, make sure it's all correct. So yeah, that's the other side, the other caliper, where it bolts onto the plate, etc. And that's the other end. And as I say, that's the framework that it came in, and then all that was also inside quite a sturdy wooden box. That box down there under the tyres, although I've got full of tools and stuff in there, got some blue roll there because mine's ready to run out up there, so I've just got that ready to change. That's the swing arm. That's the bits that bolt onto them bottom plates. So yeah, so for now that's it. Just a quick update of what the score is. And what I'll do on the next, when I come in on the next and make the next video, I'm going to be fitting the bearings into here, into the end, so that I can then mount the actual swing arm into the frame. What I'll do off camera is I'll actually disconnect this brake line off the caliper and then take that whole brake line off. So I'll just do that off camera because there's nothing special about that. But yeah, I'll get the bearings put into that, get it mounted into the frame. We'll sort these shocks out, see what the crack is with the shocks, see if they need any adjustment, any new springs or out like that, but give them a general clean up, etc. Get the shocks bolted in so that I can see whereabouts the thing's going to sit. We'll get this thing taken out of its box. We'll fit it all in place on the swing arm, etc. When I was on about doing the plates, that can be done even when it's all fitted to the bike, you know what I mean. But the most important thing to start with is getting it all set up. I mean, there's a thing here actually. It says I don't know if, before welding, make sure axle assembly is properly aligned with the transmission drive pulley and the belt or chain gears. Clears the window and housing. If the belt stroke chain does not clear the window, serious damage may occur to the blah blah blah. After performing your side-to-side belt chain alignment and rotational index of the belt chain windows, place 3 3/4 inch long welds around the axle at 12, 4 and 8. Position on the left and right inner plates as shown on the illustration. So yeah, as you see there, it wants you to put 3 welds on. Now it'll be 3 equal welds, and you'll have to be, like I'll have to be careful to put 3 equal welds on, because if I was to put say 1.5 inch weld on there and then 1 inch on there and 1 inch on the other side, because there's more heat into this one, there's a chance that it could actually distort the tube, which then you'd have a fucking wonky axle. So yeah, but that's to come in the future. But as I say, on the next one we'll actually start doing something. So until then, enjoy the rest of your festive season, and I'll catch up with you soon. Right, have a good one.